Thank you. Hi! I'm going to give it a few moments to let people join us. I just hit the start streaming button and I'm still getting used to this. So we'll see how we do today. uh, I'm looking at the chat. So, hi. If you're joining us right now, my name is Georgia Dunn. I'm the author of and I'm the author and cartoonist behind the syndicated comic strip Breaking Cat News. We have a new book out right now called Take It Away, Tommy, and this week is Children's Book Week, and so we are celebrating Children's Book Week. And oh, chat's starting. Hi, hello. And yes, so we're celebrating Children's Book Week this week, and a lot of authors are celebrating directly at home with their readers. And so I thought that since we are trying to do more draw-alongs and story times and such, that this was going to be a great week for it. I'm glad that you can join us. If you're watching this at a later time as a video on our channel, welcome and hello. And hi everyone, people are coming out to the chat now. Hello Fuzzy Buddy, hello Gabriel, hello, oh Poppet Bear, I like that name. All right, I'll still give it a couple more moments. And oh, hi from New Zealand. Wow, hello, all the way from New Zealand. My goodness. I'm excited that you can watch this from there. I'm curious, what time is it there right now? And hello from Texas. It is 1 p.m. Pacific time here, of course, and you may all have noticed I've been trying to do these at different times because I'm trying to catch as many people live as I can, and that can be a little bit of a challenge here in my house because I also have two small children who I am homeschooling / distance learning, teaching with the help of their teacher. Oh, wow, 8 a.m. Thank you for being here with us so early. Hello from Northern Canada. Hello to Wyoming. Wow, we've got quite a group. All right, so we have a lot of people in here right now. We're a couple minutes past 1. I thought today that we would draw a few characters in Breaking Cat News that we might not see every day, we might not see in every broadcast, but they pop up from time to time, and they're a lot of fun when they do. I thought that we would maybe start with Burt today. Burt is a fun little fuzzy guy. He's very laid back and mellow. He is the AV tech cat. And if you're new to Breaking Cat News, Burt is the cat who kind of runs all of the productions behind the scene. And when you see the scroll at the bottom of the comic, that is Burt. Burt writes all of the scrolls and all of that information. And once you know that about Burt, you can kind of hear his voice in it because what I like about Burt when he interacts with the cats is he's very laid back, calm, and wise. But he gets a little silly in the scrolls during the broadcasts, and I like to imagine that Burt is back in the tech AV room just feeling a little bored. And that's kind of how he deals with that. Oh, hello to North Carolina. Hello to Arizona. Hello to Florida and New York. Wow, a lot of people. That's awesome. Thank you. All right, so let's get started with Burt. I will try to draw pretty slowly. You will notice that I have, until this moment, completely forgot to do anything to my nails. So these are natural. My thumbs have lasted. I don't typically paint my nails, and that is part of why I'm terrible at the upkeep. So here we go with Burt. And oh, I like feeling that Burt is all of the Go Comics commenters too. I feel like Burt gets along with all of the Go Comics commenters very, very much. He kind of has the viewer interest very much in mind, especially when it comes to Elvis. So Burt, you'll notice, and I on my other draw-alongs, I've talked to folks. Oh, get your paper and pencil ready. I should have said that. I've talked to folks that when you are drawing these characters, go light with the pencil. A lot of feathery strokes. Give yourself a whole bunch of chances to get it right or mess up. See, that line's not good, that line's not good. I'm not going to worry about it because I'm going to ink it. So Burt and Lupin kind of have similar little football-shaped heads. Burt's little whisker points are a little bit further down on his head. Burt is based on my friend Christine's real-life cat. Hello, Christine, if you're watching, and Lila and Drew, who are Burt's people. Burt in real life lives on about 5 acres in the woods. It was my friend Christine's grandfather's home, which she purchased. And it's absolutely gorgeous. There's like a little pond. They have chickens. It's very, very pretty. Burt is a cool little guy reigning over a cool little world. And he lives with a guinea pig and a dog. S'mores, I believe, is the guinea pig, and the dog is Lola. So we have Burt's little football-shaped head, sort of. It's a little bit like a bell, a little bit like a football. And Burt has sort of shorter ears than some of the other cats. His ears are not quite as prominent as Lupin's, and they're not quite as small as Pucky's little ears, but they're just sort of in the middle. And I like to give Burt a nice, calm little expression. I don't think we've ever even seen Burt with furrowed brows, really. Maybe when the boys were a little rude to Trevor. Burt didn't like that. He didn't like them being rude to his dog friend. And he said, "Hey, you guys are being really uncool right now." Burt's friends with a lot of different animals in the comic. Burt is a barn cat in the comic, and so he lives on Quinn Farms in the comic. And he is friends with chickens and llamas, and he is pretty friendly with the robber mice. He likes all creatures. He doesn't really mind. Nothing really rattles Burt in the comic. He's our little AV Bob Ross. So here's a little calm expression for Burt. Burt is a fit little lean guy. We see him in Best Cat Wrestling. He's a very lean guy, actually. His real build is something like that. But for drawing him, I don't worry about that because he's got a little coat on. We don't see all the details. And so here's Burt's little bowling pin body. I usually kind of refer to them when I'm drawing them as little bowling pins. Not that was originally in my head exactly, but I mean, that's what they look like. I'm gonna divide his little clothes, and I come up like this. A quick way to do this is just sort of do a line and then do that. Give him a little collar because he keeps his little shirt unbuttoned, top buttons. Burt's not a tie wearing kind of kitty. He is not a button all the way up kind of dude. And he's got this great little brown bomber jacket, and that is based on a real jacket that my Nana Dee Dee gave my uncle and my dad one Christmas. Everyone in the family got these great brown bomber leather jackets, and my dad wore his for years, and then I wore it in high school quite a bit. So Burt's got this little bomber leather jacket that he wears. And I'm going to get his little feet. And Burt has a long, lean body, but he's got this beautiful little fluffy tail. And we're working on some of the fluffy tail cats today. So really, just let it swoop out. Let the pencil do this, Practice these little feather strokes, too. Especially if you're new to drawing or if you're a young reader. A lot of drawing is playing around with stuff, just seeing what works, what doesn't. Don't be afraid to mess it up. Don't be afraid to erase. Just see what works. Don't be so precious about it. Don't worry. Because when I was first drawing, oh my gosh, if I made any kind of mistake, it was the end of the world. And I would start over again. Just don't do that. My daughter actually made a mistake drawing the other day. And she did this big red splotch in the middle of a picture. And she comes over to me all upset, and she's like, "I made a mistake. I have to get rid of it." And I said, "No, just put a butterfly there. Just make it a butterfly." And she did. And so just make it a butterfly or something, This is why I don't ink right away. Everything comes in pencil. So now Burt is a casual little dude, so I'm going to put one of his arms in a pocket, And let me show you how I make a pocket. Boom. Swoop and a pocket. Swoop and slip a pocket over it. Just swoop in a pocket. And let's see, he's drinking a mug of coffee, and his coffee mug is usually different from the little Breaking Cat News station mugs that we see the other cats using. Burt's mug is from his thermos. He has a little retro plaid thermos that he carries around with him, and that's kind of it's sort of an unwritten cue. It's I like when I draw and when I tell a story in the comic, there's a rule, show and tell. That's kind of the shorthand for it. And basically, what that means is you want to show the reader as much as possible without telling them. You don't really want to break it down and pull the reader aside with a whole bunch of dialogue and have, like, Puck or someone explain to you, hey, Bert's really laid back. He's laid back, but he's prepared. And that's part of why he's so relaxed, because he's prepared for any situation. And that's why he holds a thermos. You don't want to stop the story to tell the audience that, but you want to show the audience that. And so you give a lot of little cues in your drawings, especially if you're working in comics or cartooning. Showing that Burt has a thermos, and it's sort of like a practical little plaid one, it tells you a lot about Burt right away. It kind of tells you, like I said, that he's prepared. It tells you that he's on the go. He has a lot of things to do, and he sort of needs to bring his lunch and his coffee with him. It shows his tastes. He's a practical cat, but it has like a little retro 70s flair, so that's just sort of his taste and his personality. Practical, old, maybe not quite old-fashioned, but classic. Matches the bomber jacket look in a little way. So you know that Bert's a hardworking cat who gets things done. That's kind of where I'm trying to tell the reader that very quickly at a glance, so that idea that every picture is 1,000 words. It's that kind of thing. So when you're doing your own comics or your own drawings, have that rule in mind. Show, don't tell. Because tell can get kind of boring. You don't really want a character just talking and talking and talking at the reader like I'm doing right now. You want to just be able to tell the reader a lot of things about your character at a glance. And so that's why it's kind of important to think about what they're wearing, what items they carry with them. If they do have an item with them, it should kind of tell a little bit about them. And so I'm gonna, now that I've kind of slowed down, so hopefully you could draw his little thermos, or his cup rather, which is a little bit square and has a little tiny rectangle lip on the bottom of it. I'm gonna also draw his thermos next to him. See, just a little cylinder. And another way to do this real quick, if you're new to drawing, just rectangle, rectangle, the bottom, kind of cut the sides off like that, pop a little thing on top of it, and that's kind of a quicker shorthand way of doing it. Now I'm gonna pop a little lid on. You've got to remember that the top is screwed off because he has the top of it right there. I'm looking at the chat real quick. Hi! Oh, please don't apologize for being late, anyone. Don't worry about that. That's fine. As long as I'm on time, and I'm sure when I do at least one of these, I'm going to be 5 or 10 minutes late, especially if you know me in real life. Real life, I showed up for something late when I was probably in 1st or 2nd grade, and I've been about 10 minutes behind ever since. Okay. So now that I have Burt all penciled out, and I'm giving you some time to catch up, I'm going to ink him. And I want you for a moment to take a look at the lines that we have, and then sort of pay attention as I go along to the lines that I decide to keep, because I actually get rid of a lot of lines when I do this, and that keeps a lot of the pressure off for me. Looking at the chat again. Is Bert's personality based on a real person or a mix of people? That's a great question. Burt and his personality is a little bit of a mix of three people that I know in real life. And those three people are named Hollis, Stefan, and Ryan. Ryan being my husband. Uh, Hollis is probably about the best tech and computer person I know. We grew up together. He's a whiz at computers. He's just amazing. He can pretty much do anything with the computer. It's wild. My friend Stefan is another dear friend. He is, again, terrific with computers, with tech. He's more sort of mechanical, just very mechanically inclined. He's the kind of person who, like one time he had me stand in the middle of his apartment and experience his sound system he had put together, which was just incredible and completely calibrated to when you were in this one part of his apartment, you could sort of hear everything. And he asked me to pick one song that I would want to hear in great detail. And I knew it immediately, and he could anticipate it too. I picked Kate Bush, Running Up That Hill. It was awesome. It was so good. He's just amazing when it comes to, I don't know, making magic out of electronics and wires. It's incredible. And he's very bemused, incredibly intelligent. Hollis, too. They're just, both of them are just really, really intelligent, wise guys who are a trip to talk to. Both of them, like, have sort of like a bemused, laid backness to them. I don't know. They just work for Burt very, very well, and the sense of humor that kind of comes in now and then would work for each of them too. Elvis would be a lot for either of them. So, and then also my husband Ryan is also in there, especially his technical know-how, the live streaming aspect. I've always assumed in my mind that the cats are actually basically broadcasting like this. When I began the comic, I thought of it sort of as like a YouTube show that cats were doing secretly from another room in the apartment wherever the people were. That's just sort of where it is in my head. And I realized later it was very easy for me to imagine that because we always have AV equipment around, because of my husband's job. Ryan is a video editor for Nintendo now. He has been a video editor in many different capacities over the years, and for different companies. He's worked for Pokemon and NCSoft, and so we always have mics and soundboards. There's a light on me right now that is from a green screen kit. We have a green screen. So there's a lot of different things. And so Burt is a mix of these real people, and I think sort of the temperament that you need to get technical things off the ground and running. Intelligence, innovative, a lot of improving wires into different setups. These men are very curious about just sort of what a VCR from 1983 can really do. Things like that. And so Burt comes to my mind informed from those three personalities the most of folks I know who work in tech and have to work with wires and machines a lot and computer aspects a lot. Taking a look here. Burt and bell bottoms would be very, very cute. Okay, so now I am going to start to ink. And I always seem to start inking with the ears. And this is where the fluffiness of the cats come in. I sort of add the fur as I go. And so I sort of do that. And then there's 1, 2, 3. And then I scoop down. Bert's got a little fuzzy chest, so I do that. And here. Now, if I'm going too fast when I'm doing this, please don't worry. This video will be saved later on as a video, and it will be something that you can watch and pause and watch and pause and watch and pause. And wow, my Rhode Island accent just came out very hard. My son draws this way. If he sees a tutorial on YouTube, he pauses it about 80, 90 times. He draws each tiny little line as it goes. Every time they add a mark to the paper, he adds a mark to the paper. And there is nothing wrong with that. However you get the drawing done, that's how you get the drawing done. I'm very much of that mindset. It's not a contest, it's not a competition. The only thing you're looking for at the finish line is a drawing that you look back on and you feel really happy about. Now I'm going to give him a few whiskers. Only a few of the cats in the comic have long whiskers occasionally, and that is Tommy, Sophie, and Burt. I do his little cup, and I scoop around here, make it a little thinner here. I'm making a little adjustment because I made that too wide. Get his paw, and then I sort of make a little C that he's holding on to. Don't worry if you don't get that part exactly right. That's a lot of little details thrown in. We do the swoop and a pocket. I bring this line down. And again, you'll see with the ink, this is kind of where I add in curves. I make adjustments as I need to during this part. We'll swoop for that. And that. To David, I don't know why I didn't do pupils in this comic. Just looked fine when I did it. It felt right. A lot of my decisions kind of land on that it just kind of looked good or I liked it. My other comic, Swan Eaters, I do usually do, I at least do irises, and then sometimes they even get pupils as well in some of the more detailed drawings. And when I do illustrations, they're more in fine detail. But for this, I just ended up doing these. They were easy to color in. They looked cute, and that was about it. Same goes for the rosy cheeks on the people and blushing characters or female characters. I just thought it looked cute. Liked it a lot. I used to play with a toy in the 90s or 80s called Precious Places. It was this little magnetic toy, and there was a village, and all the little people had magnets on the bottom of them. And you had a key, and you could move the little people around with the magnets. Sorry. And when I looked back on those toys when my son was playing with them, I did notice that they had similar eyes and similar little rosy cheeks. And I kind of had a hindsight moment of, I wonder if I carried that through somehow. Just, you know, the visuals that we have as a child, we bring with us. So they look, if you Google Precious Places and look at like an eBay listing for the old toys or something and really look at their faces, you will find that they look a lot like the people in the comic. Yes, Amy, those, the pet shop. I had the pet shop too. The pet shop was awesome. It came with a parrot. We have the pet shop. It's so good. I saved them from when I was a kid. So it's, oh gosh, they're so much fun. And yeah, you're welcome, David. Trevor's Woman has joined us. Trevor's Woman is A. Forbes. Hello. I hope you don't mind me saying. Yes. Okay, so I'm looking at the chat. Now I'm looking over here, and I'm going to finish this last little swoop. And I do a little line there just to show that that's where they screw it on. And to remind myself if I paint it later. And I will do one of these streams where I paint some of these, because I think that that would be a lot of fun. We're still in the phase where we're just drawing things. But that's pretty good. I will do a paint one at some point. And so here are just some little lines to myself to remind me that he's got a plaid thermos. And now here's one of my favorite parts. I'm going to erase. I erase very, very, very fast to be incredibly thorough and also to not rip the paper or bend the paper. Ah. There we go. So that's Burt. And now Burt really comes alive again when we paint them. A lot of the tabby characters, unless it's Tabitha, who has actual like black stripes and black markings, and so they get inked. A lot of the tabby cats look a little different when they're in ink because we don't see all their lines. Yay! Thank you. Oh, I'm glad that Michelle. I'm glad your cat Jilly is watching. That's awesome. All right, so I'm gonna put Burt over here. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna, let's do this. And now we're gonna do Sophie. Sophie's very similar to Burt in ink, except she's fluffier. And so I'll show you how we do Sophie and her gown and sort of like the objects that we would put with Sophie versus Burt. What kind of eraser do I use? Let me pull that here. Boom. It is a Pentel high polymer. I'm not great at pronouncing words sometimes. High polymer eraser. They're great. My father used erasers kind of similar to this, and that's probably where I picked one up or started using it. It's one that I can trust, and it has this so that it doesn't pick up the finger oils. Don't touch or handle your erasers that much where you touch them to the paper, because if you get finger oils and skin oils on them, that's when you get those big awful smudges sometimes. So just try not to touch them if you can, and that's why I really like this. So now we're going to do Sophie. Now Sophie is all elegance and fluff. She's a lot of swoopiness. Yes, stabbing the holes in them is very satisfying. I used to love that as a kid. Like, especially. I remember doing that in some class or whatnot. Because I always had one in a pencil box somewhere. Why does Sophie have different colored eyes? Vision difference. No, that's fine. Keep asking the eye questions. That works. Sophie in real life is blind in one eye. She has like a gray, sometimes they're called like a galaxy eye. And if you go on Facebook and search, I believe it is Admiral Thomas Whiskerstash, I believe. That is the real life Tommy. He has a Facebook page. My friend Jackie made him a Facebook page, and Sophie is on that page quite a bit. And you'll be able to see the real life Sophie and her different colored eyes. So she has, and in the comic it's the same. She's blind in one eye, and one eye is still working. I actually think it looks very pretty, especially for the comic's sake of things. I think she looks lovely. But yes, in the comic, Sophie is also blind in one eye, just like real life Sophie. Sometimes people kind of think that they're just the pupils are different colors, or sometimes people think or musician rather, late musician David Bowie had different colored eyes. That is not true. I am wild about David Bowie, and I love him. And David Bowie's eyes were the same color. He was born with the same color eyes. When he was in a fight in grade school, he was punched in the head. And he was punched. The guy who punched him went on to do something else in music. I forget who he was, but he was like a producer or something. It feels like so many people in England in the 1960s and eventually just went into music. But when David Bowie was hit in the head in this schoolyard fight, it knocked something happened where the pupil detached, I believe, and it left it always dilated. And that is true. You can look that up. And I read an interview once where he talked about that, of course, at a certain point, he could have had that fixed. But it was so much a part of him that he didn't really want to change it, which I thought was kind of cool. So that was just a tangent, but it's interesting because people will bring up, does she have Bowie eyes? Because sometimes it's called that too, and that's what made me think of it. I'm giving her some little eyelashes now. I like to give her some little eyelashes. Giving her like a little kind of shy half smile, not a full smile, just a little shy smile. And she is a little bit of a shorter, squatter bowling pin. So again, I do sort of like a half to separate from myself. And then I do this. Sophie, underneath her little gown, or her little sweater, is wearing a big pink tulle skirt. And it's it's a little bit like a little ball gown, sort of. We never really see her feet. This is based on a real-life pink tulle skirt that Tabitha and Figaro's woman, Emily, actually has that is gorgeous. It's like this like really, really soft pink pastel. And I had seen her in it recently when I was designing what Sophie would look like. And I was just so taken with this skirt. I really, really liked it. And so I ended up giving Sophie one because it just looks beautiful. It's like it's kind of like Sophie comes into a room, because it's even longer. It's like a floor length one. Sophie comes into a room in the comic and she's like dressed like Glinda but casual. She's got like a cardigan on. And that's kind of a lot of Sophie, I think. It works for Sophie. I'm going to give her a little crooked arm like Burt, but instead of a pocket, I'm going to give myself some room here, give her a paw, and I'm just going to tuck a little book. And it's a little book. It's something that she can carry with her. She's got a little book for company. And she's gotten it with her. And then I'm going to put a little paw sort of against her body. She's a little reserved. She's not immediately comfy, as we learned in the most recent special. And she has a big, swooping, fluffy tail. And so I've probably made it a little bit too big, but she's dramatic, so it works. It could be her diary, that's true. Ah, Amy looked it up. George Underwood, and he designed album covers. Thank you, Amy. Yes, I remembered it was someone who ended up also going into music, because that had to be kind of wild if you're also in music in London, and you can, you can also mention casually as you're working with people, oh, I gave David Bowie those weird eyes. I love David Bowie's eyes. They're so good. I love his music, too. Now, I've begun inking Sophie, and it's a lot of swoopiness. A lot of swoops, a lot of dives. She's fun to draw. She's a lot of motions. And I'm going to put her here. There's been a request for her little cat onk, and I think that's a great idea. NC Karen. So I'm going to add that real quick. And that is a circle. And I come down and across. Actually, you know what? I think I did it I gave it too much of a neck. Let's try it again. That and that. And then 2 little cat ears. And it's so easy to draw in the pencil phase. And then I just go around it. And I'll show you how I do that. I build a lot of things out with pencil. And then I just sort of outline the edges of them. And it's much easier than trying to figure out how wide something's going to be. And I apologize, because I am kind of all over the place in this draw along. Sophie has a lot of little details and little wispiness and scalloped edges on this skirt. And then I go over them again. Excuse me, sorry. Alright, so I'm going to slow down a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm keeping. Hello, Erin. I also grew up with Erin. We're drawing Sophie right now. So, I'm drawing her a little bit too fast, so I'm trying to slow down. I'm still getting very used to the draw along aspect of everything. I wish that I could kind of simplify some of the characters down a bit. That's something I'll have to sort of practice and work on to maybe make one tutorial Very similar to Lupin Leaps In. I did actually make a little bit of a tutorial, and that was easier because I had time to think about it. I sort of get away from myself when I'm just actually drawing. This is in the back of my book, Lupin Leaps In. How to Draw the Good Boys of BCN. And we have Puck, and we have Elvis, and we have Lupin. And again, I've got those little bowling pins. So that's in the back of this book, Lupin Leaps In. All right, now I'm gonna get back to Sophie, and I'm gonna go with her tail, and it's a big woo, a little swoop, and some more little fluffs, little fluffs, little fluffs, little fluffs the other way, and there we are. I'm gonna do the other side of her sweater, and I'm gonna do her eyes. And a little hint of eyebrows. Her other eye. Some whiskers. And her itty bitty nose and little half smile. And now we're going to do the ankh. So I do a circle in the center. I'm just following along the edges. Make it easy for yourself, just as though the pencil is something solid, as though that silver graphite is metal. Just curve your pen around it. Take your time, go slow. There's no race, no one's got a timer on you. There we go. And then I actually do a bunch of little dots for the chain part of it here. I'm not sure if I did that in the comic, but I like the way it looks, so I'm going to do it that way now. I'm going to extend her sweater over a little bit. That's a mistake, that line, that I can take out in Photoshop later. This is where sometimes people will say, oh, but how do you use Photoshop when you are a watercolorist and you're obviously working in ink and watercolor? Why would you need to know Photoshop? That's why you need to know Photoshop. Because that will save you a lot of time. Otherwise, I would have to paint over that in white, wait for it to dry, try to ink it again, and never be able to watercolor over it properly. This would be an excellent thing for Photoshop. And one day I might show a tutorial on that too. I don't really know what I'm doing when I do anything in Photoshop. I'll hold this so you can take a look at it while I talk. My father gave me Photoshop when I was in 7th or 8th grade, I think, and he asked that I mess around in it for half an hour to an hour every night as homework. Later on, I used to assist in one of his galleries, and he had me touch up a lot of the old negatives or photographs that people would bring into him for restoration, and I had to touch those up in Photoshop. And so that is how I learned to use it, just using it pretty much every day. Certainly at one point in high school, like every day, in a very practical use of it. And so I can do a lot in Photoshop, but I can't tell you what I'm doing or what it's called. I don't know what half the tools are. I know what their little symbol is, and I can grab it, and I know what that does, and I can do that, but I can't explain a lot of it because I just used it a lot, and so that's how I worked on it. I have something like allergies today. There is something like a little bit of a vocal fry in my voice today. It is very possibly allergies, Aaron. Nothing more serious. Have I ever drawn the cats using a digitalizing tablet? No. I can't use those. I'm not good at it. I have one. I have one for editing. When I do put the comic together at the end of the week, I use the pen to drop and drag. I use the pen to erase things like this line. I can't draw one with one, though. And it's not anything I'm in a rush to learn. There's a disconnect for me when it comes to screens. And I fought against it for a very, very long time, but now I've just kind of embraced it, that screens are not really for me. I really like this aspect of screens, that we can use them to communicate with each other, and I can do something like this. But when it comes to drawing, I very much like the paper itself. I like the feel of it. I like to see what the water does on it. And there are friends of mine who have a very similar feeling for the tablet. They like the way it feels. They like to see it come to life on the screen. It's just different strokes for different folks. I used to feel like, because I couldn't do the digital end of it, that would be a huge hindrance for me art-wise, and that I would never have something like a syndicated comic. Now I have found, through whatever twist of fate, it has set me apart a little bit, and I'm one of the few watercolorists working in comics. I'm one of the only daily ones, because all my strips are watercolored daily. And now I'm very proud of it, so it worked out. Also, I have a whole heck of a lot of originals that I can sell or give out when the time comes, if a charity asks me for something, or if I need to pay a bill and I need to sell a few originals. That is a very real life event that happens about once a year. And so now I'm very glad that I have the paper originals too. They've become a very cool asset to have on hand, unexpectedly. Uh, and yes, there are many Photoshop tutorials for people who want them. YouTube is a wealth of that. It's terrific. All right, now I'm going to do the erasing. And this is a practice kind of thing. I've had people comment that I erase very quickly, and I didn't realize I did until until they said that. But it's very much, I don't want to rip the paper or mess it up. Okay, so we have, kind of like the king and queen on a deck of cards here, we have Sophie and we have Burt. And yes, I would still love to do a watercoloring tutorial. If you have liked and subscribed to this channel, occasionally late at night I go live with more casual streams where I'm just painting something or drawing something. Those are a lot of fun, and they're much more laid back. Like, I'm usually in my jammies and just kind of, there's really no plan to them. It's more like sort of wanting company while I paint, something like that. And so that's the only way I've been doing watercolors so far on this channel, but I would really like to do a more formal, hey, this is how I color one of the illustrations or one of the comic strips. And I would like to do that maybe even next, after our story time on Friday. Hey, KK! Hi! Oh, tarot cards. Yeah, I've actually really want to do, I want to do Breaking Cat News tarot cards, and then just do like tarot, like classic tarot cards at some point too. If you've read enough interviews with me, you may have heard before that I partially learned to draw from drawing a deck of tarot cards as a child. I was about 12, and I really liked this deck of tarot cards that I had. In fact, here, if you want to see a really messy art box, stay tuned. This is my art box. I wrote on it at some point in college, you won't be able to see it, that says, I belong to Georgia. This is all my watercolors, where they're kept, and there's a whole lot of cat hair here right now. So, boom. If I can, here's everything. And in this art box, wow, there's a lot of junk in here. Domo. Oh, this stuff. Colorless art masking fluid. This stuff is great. If you want to draw like a little hint of a crescent moon in a night sky, put just a little bit of this, maybe around the edge of a quarter or a dime, let it dry, and then you can do like a really nice wash over it. I love this stuff. Later on, you just peel it off. It takes a little bit of practice to get used to it, but it's really cool. Anyway, here. In this art box, wrapped up. This is it. This is the set of tarot cards that I learned to draw from. And the way I learned to draw these is I was 12, and every night I would pick a couple, and I would originally, being 12, I would trace them over and over and over and over. And then after I had traced one 3 or 4 times, I would try to draw it. And then I would draw it over and over and over. And my grasping in the dark kind of way of trying to teach myself how to draw, my thought process was that sort of I was trying to teach my hand some of the muscle memory. I was hoping, you know, I was a kid, I was in 6th grade. I was hoping that I would be teaching my hand sort of the shape of a face or the shape of an eye, and then working on the hand-eye coordination. And it worked. You know, it did okay. I think it got me really passionate about drawing, though. And even when I used these as references, and then I did other illustrations that were similar. You know, I may have changed what the person was wearing. If you are new to drawing, if you are a young reader who is watching this, if there's a favorite book of yours, or a favorite picture, a favorite band, because later I did this with members of The Who. I'm pointing because I have a vintage poster of The Who above my desk because I still love them. They're all my dads and all my husbands. I just love them. I learned to draw their face over and over and over again. Anyway, if you are new to drawing or a young reader and there's some character that you like, draw them constantly. You know, don't feel bad about tracing something in order to learn how to draw. That's fine. That is how many people that you admire learned to draw. Never trace anything and pass it off as your own. That's a step too far. Don't ever do anything like that. But absolutely, don't feel bad about taking a piece of tracing paper. I used to use wax paper because we couldn't always afford a new pack of tracing paper. That was fancy. Also, a flashlight behind a piece of paper. You know, just don't feel bad about that when you're learning. You know, that's okay. Do whatever it takes to learn, and then take those skills and apply them later on to your own drawings when you are drawing freehand. So here's some of them just to kind of give you a look. So yeah, so this is, and this is perfect. If you're interested in this tarot deck, this is the information of who created it. And thank you, Mary Hanson Roberts. I definitely owe quite a bit of my art career to you. And so yeah, so they're just lovely. And it looks like she did these with colored pencils, and that is wild. Colored pencils were originally my medium when I was a teenager. I worked pretty much all in colored pencils. And I still have some work that is all in colored pencils that I did as a teenager. Maybe I'll share it sometime. But watercolor really, really clicked for me when I was about 19. It just felt right. So, so that is my very messy art box, and those are my cherished tarot cards that I still have in that art box. I don't know, you get attached to things and they feel like you want to have them close to you, and so art-wise, those felt very important to me art-wise. Now, I'll do one more character, and then we'll probably be wrapping this up. And I think today we're going to do one of the robber mice. Now, the robber mice are very, very small, so I'm not going to do the robber mice in the way that I've been drawing the others, because that would be about, you can see how fast the robber mice come together when I'm drawing them, that would be about that big. And yes, I do draw most of the comic very, very fast. I have 2 kids and 365 comics to draw a year. I draw very fast. But yeah, so that's how I would draw one of the robber mice. If I was, oh no! Remember I said don't handle your eraser too much? Apparently I did. Let's flip it over. Boom. Okay. So now I'm going to be paranoid when I go to erase again. Oh, dang. Okay. Testing it out. So now I will draw one of the robber mice a little bit bigger so that we can actually see them. And now people in the chat are discussing drawings that they practiced when they were young. Practice Dr. Seuss. That's awesome. Yeah, I a lot of times, especially young readers, people who are new to drawing, and also children, because I think adults might be a little bit easier on themselves. Kids, especially, like the idea of tracing something feels like stealing, and I get that. And you should never trace something and pretend it was yours. Don't do that. That makes you feel bad. Just don't do that. But you should have no problem tracing something to learn. You absolutely should see how it feels to draw those lines. Don't feel bad about that. And then try to draw it on your own. Trace it and then try to draw it on your own. And then just, do that a bunch more times. Just a lot of times. And that helps get your hand, I think, it helps get your hand coordinated when you were first learning how to draw. Then later on you practice it long enough and you start being able to sort of train your eye and your hand to work together. Yeah. Oh. Something just went against the door. Bri, is there a cat out there? Is that Luke? You can let him in. I'm sorry. I just had a giant thing smashed against my door, and it was Lupin. Oh, it's Elvis. Hey. Oh, they're both here. Okay. Hi. Okay, so Elvis and Lupin are now in the studio, but I don't know if they'll actually show up. We'll see. Lupin was in here earlier. All right, so if the cats in Breaking Cat News are like little bowling pins, then the mice are kind of like cute little potatoes. Oh, here comes Lupin. Hey, buddy. No? Here we go. And you can Lupin works with signs because he is deaf. Hey, hi, buddy. Okay. All right. Wait. And as I always say, like any cat, he decides whether or not he's going to obey commands. He doesn't always, like any cat. Hi. Yeah, you're right here, huh? When I showed that picture earlier on our feeds of Lupin had heard there was a live stream, this is pretty much exactly where he was sitting. He likes to sit here. Hi. Mwah. He shows up on a lot of my Skype calls too, to friends and family, and yeah. All right, so as I was saying, if the cats are bowling pins, then the mice are kind of like happy potatoes. That makes sense? Like a little happy potato, or like a pear, maybe. You'll see. I'm gonna draw the mice very big, which is gonna feel real weird. Oh yeah, I don't like this. This feels bizarre. That muscle memory is strong. Okay, so here's a mouse shape. Now again, if you're very new to this, start off with a triangle and sort of just round the edges. Just cut the edges off and then don't ink that part of it. That will work too. Lupin. Okay, I know. Baby mommy's working. Okay. All right, so. Okay. So we've got our little happy potato. And then two little loops for their ears. And as we've talked about ears before, I'll erase these and show you. Those are kind of happy, calm, default ears. These would be surprised ears. They would come up together like, whoop, what's that? And these are sort of little sad ears on either side. Oh, they're feeling bad. Feeling bad about stealing something. Hey, buddy. All right, so I'm going to put the default ears back on. little happy loops. And then the sides facing each other I sort of go over again, and those become kind of the lip of the ear. Their whole face is in here, this area. They have very little faces. They have a lot of stripes. Elvis, I swear to cat, don't you dare. I'm sorry. When Elvis is annoyed and he wants to get my attention, he likes to mess with a mirror that's on the wall behind me, and he's doing it right now. And if he does it enough, the mirror's gonna fall, and it has. Also, he throws a glass jar that's up there sometimes, that's next to him right now. Elvis? Stop it. If I can try to... There he is. There's Mommy's little monster. Stop it! Got some cat hair on my dress. I have 4 cats. I can't really apologize. I vacuum as much as I can. We all get it. Yeah. So, yeah, very Elvis. Yeah, very on brand for Elvis. You can hear in my voice, the voice that you sometimes see in the comic when I'm in all caps, like, Lupin, come on! Or, Elvis! That's that voice. Dude? One moment. I'll be right back. No. No, come on down. Ugh. Here he is. Lupin's out of here. Okay, I made that face because Lupin stepped directly on the laptop. Okay, can you be cool? Please? Can you be cool? Okay. Ugh. I'm gonna put Elvis here. See how he does. Oh, he's flicking his tail. He's really annoyed. Alright, come on, dude. Anyway. So we've got these little ears, and their faces are all here. Their faces are very small. So we're going to draw Natasha. Oh, Lupin, no. Am I okay? Did anything turn off? Okay, I think I'm good. Again, Lupin just came right across the laptop keyboard. So here, they have very similar faces to the cats close up, but you actually don't get to see their faces close up very often. This is going to be Natasha, and we'll know it's Natasha because she's got a big Lupin smile. She and Lupin are very similar in spirit. I'm going to unplug my tablet because Lupin's sitting on it. And I don't want this to all suddenly just turn off again. So there's Natasha. And then I'm going to give her a little robber mask. Boop, boop. Boop, boop. Boop, boop. You don't have to say boop, boop while you draw them. But apparently I just do that, and I didn't realize it until I just did it now. I'm going to adjust the swoop in the neck to give her a little bit more headroom. And then I'm going to follow her shirt down. I usually like to give them 3 stripes. If you pay attention in the comic, occasionally there's 4. Those are usually just a mistake. But, like, it happens. And I know you're thinking, Georgia, those are hecka stripes, but I mean them to be black in the middles, like this. Yes, there we go. And let's just we're just gonna give Natasha a really happy little, and now I do a little thumbstick. I hear Elvis messing with something new. Ah, okay, it's a table, it's fine. It's all pretend fruit and such. My children's playroom area is right there, which makes it pretty easy to work on stuff. So Natasha is just like, hey! She's really happy. Natasha is, like Lupin, a wild card character. I love wild card characters because in a panel where you're just kind of not sure what else is going to happen, those characters sometimes just sort of pop an idea into your head almost, it feels like. Like you can just sort of picture them doing something really fun, and they're really fun to write with. I like them quite a bit. Let me see. Oh yeah, definitely live broadcast. Yes, chaotic neutrals. That is a perfect, yes. Oh, it's, you know what? It's really funny that you say that, 'cause, yeah, yeah, I don't know. They're perfectly chaotic neutral. I'm trying to remember if a strip has actually come up because I have a chaotic neutral joke coming up in the comic, and I actually can't remember if it already happened yet or not. It didn't. It did not happen yet. Wait. I'll show you all a sneak peek. If I can find it. If I can't find it, we'll move on. But if I can find it very quickly. Yeah, and it is. It's May, so it hasn't happened. Sometimes I don't remember. Really quick sneak peek. There is a broadcast coming up, slight spoilers, where a spider shows up, and they all have to deal with a spider. And there's this line here where the woman says, "Anyone gonna handle this? 4 cats. Anyone?" And Goldie says, "I just ate." Pucky, "I'm a pacifist." Elvis, "I'm a conscientious objector." Lupin, "I'm chaotic neutral, but my wild card answer is no." And so, yeah, chaotic neutral is a perfect way to put Lupin. And that is actually coming up very, very soon. That's really funny. But yeah, Lupin and Natasha are 100% chaotic neutral. And I want to put them into a story together where they do something really funny. And I actually have an idea planned out which involves them. Somehow I have to work gumballs into the story, like old-fashioned gumballs. Somehow they're somewhere in the apartment, and like the woman is being very careful not to like spill the vessel or get them mixed up. Maybe she's planning them for a birthday party, like guess how many gumballs, something like that is coming up. And I have a line written for Lupin and Natasha where they have to like burst into something together, and they have to kind of save the day a little bit. And they say, "We came here to party and chew gum, and we brought enough gum for everybody." And they finally throw the vessel of gumballs everywhere, and it creates total chaos. And I've had that line written in my head and that scenario for like a year and a half. I haven't been able to work it in yet, and I tried a couple of times, and it just wasn't right yet. So when you see that coming, eventually you'll know, wow, she held on to that joke for such a long time. But I'm really excited for it. And I just love that line because that's so them. Like, it's chaos. They're here to kick butt, but also they're being like ridiculously friendly. Like, we brought enough gum for everyone. So I don't know. I'm really excited for that. So that's the Natasha plan. When I am hopefully giving you enough time to maybe catch up on this drawing. Now I'm gonna do her little feet. I love their little feet. Their little feet are kind of cute and kind of ridiculous. Just a little boom, and the little swoopy tail. Boom. Ah, I love Natasha. I love all of the robber mice quite a bit, but Natasha and Alice are probably my favorites. They're a lot of fun. They do have a backstory. There is an entire backstory for the robber mice and how they met and how they got together. And if you go back to August 4th, 2019, I believe, it's a Sunday strip. It's the strip that has the whole map of the town that they all live in, Hope Valley, Rhode Island. It has the whole map of that, the fictional version of Hope Valley, Rhode Island. In the upper right-hand corner, there is a sort of foreboding-looking building, an industrial building, which is Grimtech. It is the labs that Natasha and Violet originally escaped from. And that's going to be a backstory at some point. They were lab mice, and that is why Natasha is has a love of cosmetics and is unafraid of needles, and other not so grim jokes when they're worked in. But yes, so Natasha and Violet actually were lab mice who escaped, and Agnes and Alice, who are sisters, are wild field mice who grew up in the region. And We get a great story about those characters in the next book, Elvis Puffs Out, which is coming out this autumn. But that backstory has not actually been written or drawn anywhere yet. It is just in notes and outlines that I have. I am hoping that one day for a Halloween special in the future, maybe Burt can add in some captured security camera footage from Grimtech Labs, and we can see how they all met each other and what happened on that fateful night. Uh, yeah, I haven't had a chance to actually write or draw it yet. I have about 1,000 stories like that. I'm basically trying to outrun my own mortality to just write everything that's in my head as fast as I can. That's how I write and that's how I talk, as you can see. All right, let's ink Natasha, and then that will probably be it for today. And again, I always seem to start off with that left ear. Our left, their right. And their ears are very similar to the cat ears. Give them a little bit of fuzz, give them that. When they are drawn super, super teeny tiny, I don't bother with certain details like that because you don't see them. It'll just look like a mess. And I'll ink a little tiny one next to her real quick after this. Here's the little mouth. Boom. Boom. Whoop. And like that. And some little fluffies. Do the outline of her t-shirt, which I will actually ink after I erase, because if I have found that I have a higher likelihood of smudging the ink if I ink a lot of dark spaces and then erase. So I hold off on erasing a lot of the dark spaces. Throw in some little toesies, why not? Swoop that tail. Give a few little lines to that tail here and there. And now this is where the little hands kind of come together. And I'm going to make the mask a little easier. I'm going to draw the outline of the mask around the eyes. And I will also be inking that afterwards. Alright, so now let's erase this. And I started off slowly because I didn't know if I was going to get another black smudge, and I don't want one of those. I'm going a little bit carefully here because I just inked this and I don't want it to smudge. Although these pens dry pretty quick. People ask me sometimes what pens I use, and it's these. Pigma Microns. I love them. They are waterproof, and that is the majority of why I use them. And here we go, getting her mask black. I wish I had a little bit more space in there for her nose, but it's okay. I'm going to get a different pen for the stripes, and I'm going to just go sideways with this because it's easier for me to draw the stripes this way. And again, you just kind of want to do what works. Ooh, my pen is dying. That's no good. I'm going to quickly abandon this pen. A dying pen is like a blunt knife. It's going to slip. It's going to slip and it's going to make a mistake for you. You don't want that. See, this pen's dying too, but I've been a little bit more using that one a little more, so I've kind of gotten used to the edge of it. I should replace my pens very soon, but a lot of it, you know, we're at home and we're trying not to go out unless it's absolutely necessary. And yes, it is a work thing, but I can also order them, and I might have to do that soon. These stripes are all over the place, but you get the idea. This pen that I have right now is the pen that I use to draw out the panels and the word bubbles. It's a nice medium thick line. It's very clean. Boom! And that's Natasha. And I will draw Natasha at the size that I usually draw Natasha, so that you can see. And a little anchor. Little figure 8. And there she is. So see, it's not too hard drawing 365 comics a year if you draw them that fast. And very carefully erase her, and there we go. And this is more the scale I work in, because I work very small. Trying to show an example of me working very small, because this might be one of your first times on one of our streams you might not have seen yet. This is a inked and watercolored page from one of the more recent series of strips. I can put 4 dailies on a piece of cardstock, and I do. And then I paint the whole thing. I paint all the greens, I paint all the blues. I actually start with all the yellows. I start with all the yellows, and then I move to other softer colors, and the reason I do that is so that I can stretch the water in my paintbrushes as long as possible, so I don't start off with black and then have muddy water. I start off with yellow, and then I move to like blues and greens, and gradually get muddier and muddier and change it when I need to, but keeps it easy. I should do someday a video of kind of showing. We do have one on the channel. If you look, there's one where I work very fast. The man sped it up so that you could see it in about a minute and a half. But I should show you one night how I do an entire sheet of dailies in an evening, because it's fun. It's kind of cool. I hope it would be fun to watch. There might be spoilers. That's the only thing. I might have to do it and then show it later or something like that. So yeah, so there's Natasha. Little tiny Natasha. And yeah, so that is, I think that's a whole bunch. It's a whole bunch of characters drawn today. I hope that you've enjoyed them. I hope that you've had fun watching. I'm sorry that I do draw very fast. I think that I even when I try to slow it down, I can feel myself going a little too quick if I was trying to follow it. So I promise you I will save this broadcast and I will post it as a video. YouTube checks videos before you post them to make sure that the content is safe, which as a parent, I think is super rad and I'm very in support of. But that does mean that there will be a slight delay. So probably, I don't know, like sometimes it's like 20 minutes, sometimes it's an hour. It probably matters how long our video is and how much they have to check. But hey, Matt Nelson, hi. I was glancing over at the chat. But yeah, so this will be a video, and when it is a video, please like pause it as many times as you need to. Have a screen just held up there so that you can see what's happening. Don't feel bad. Anything you have to do to get a drawing done, especially if you're new to drawing. If you're a younger artist, if you're a new artist, you can start art at any age. Look at Monet. You know, take as much time and as many shortcuts as you need to start learning it and to get to a place where you feel comfortable. Because once you feel comfortable drawing, then you're just gonna go, and it's gonna be awesome. But it has to be a fun thing for you, or you're not gonna want to do it. So make it fun, and if you have to pause a video 1,000 times, if you have to you know, draw something and then retrace it because you messed up a foot, but you like the rest of the drawing, do that. Whatever it takes. All right, so I'm going to wrap up the stream, and let me try to think of a few things I have to say before that. Take It Away, Tommy is our latest book, and you can buy it anywhere books are sold. You can order it right now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound, through your local bookstore. It should be in the library systems where you are. If you want to try, and now everything's very strange at the moment because of quarantine, so if your library is not lending out books right now, what do I want to say? Be patient, you know, wait till things open up again if that is primarily how you get your books. It's not going anywhere. Of course, part of me is like, buy it now, you know, buy it now, support the book, it helps the numbers. That's great. If you can buy it, thank you so much. If you have to wait to borrow it, wait to borrow it. Don't worry, it's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. And there's another one coming out in autumn called Elvis Puffs Out that I'm very excited about. So hopefully maybe we'll be able to celebrate when that one comes out with maybe like, I don't know, like an in-person signing or, you know, just being able to just go to your library and check it out. Wouldn't that be nice? I miss the library. Who else misses the library? Yeah. And it is Children's Book Week. That is very, very exciting. There is a hashtag to be sharing for Children's Book Week events, and I will add that to this video. I should have had it beside me, but didn't work out. So I will add it to this video. And yeah, so thank you so much for coming. Thank you for watching. I hope that you had a good time. I hope that you learned a little bit about drawing, just kind of watching along and seeing sort of what goes into the thought process and how it comes together. And I hope that you have a great rest of your Wednesday. All right. All right. Bye. Now I'm going to try to hit the button. Oh, my mom was a librarian too. Very cool. Very cool, Kristen. All right. And so I hope everyone has a good Wednesday. All right. Bye. Bye-bye. Oh, you know what would be fun? If you have the chance, comment on this video with your favorite children's book. It doesn't even have to be one of mine. Like, I'd love if it's one of mine, but you know what? My favorite children's book is But No Elephants by Jerry Smath. It's not by me. So, so comment below with what your favorite children's book is, and that's kind of a cool way that we could all celebrate Children's Book Week together really fast. Okay. All right. Bye. Have a great rest of your day.